Hi there, it's Granddad Got Mojo, and I'm going to be doing some what's called AlgoRaving later. So this is a little bit of introduction of what this means and what I'm doing. AlgoRaving is really for music nerds. It's for people that like to generate beats, play beats, and they like to do it doing programming. And then instead of live DJing, it's live coding, where you're actually creating the beats with programming. Now, I'm using something called Sonic Pi, which was originally developed with the idea that it would be used as an educational tool. And it was developed by Dr. Sam Aaron from Cambridge University and a core team a few years ago. It runs on Windows, Linux, Raspberry Pi, the Linux on Raspberry Pi, and Mac operating systems. So basically, we're in a window here. You'll see it's the Sonic Pi application, which you can download for free. And this is where you type in code. And like I said before, it was really aimed at to be used as an educational tool to start, as well as Sam Aaron as a EDM enthusiast, and so he said, "Gee, this could be used for professionals as well." So this is designed to be used by grade school kids, junior high, high school kids, to teach them, kind of secretly teach them how to code, fool them into programming and enjoying it, rather than saying, "Here's how you do a bubble sort with a routine." You teach them how to create music using coding, and hopefully they will spend a lot more time playing with it and learning the ins and outs of programming by creating music. So let's go ahead. There's a command here. I'm going to say play 60, and 60 is just a number. That's all I have to think about it right now. It actually is a MIDI note number, but just say play 60, and you will hear if I say run, you hear a note playing. So if I know my grandkids, when they got in here to start with, they thought this was great. I mean, because you can just type that in and click run, and you have a note. Now it's a note. It's playing on an underlying synthesizer below. So if I can go ahead and look at that synth, and it defaults to beep, but I could play something else if I want. I could say a dull bell, and instead of that beep, it'll be a dull bell sound. So you can change the synthesizer, and again, kids learning this love that, just changing stuff. But that's not much. It says 60. So let's say you wanted to play a different note too. So let's say you want to play boom, boom. So play 60 and play 64, right? And you play it. Ho! And kids are amazed. How come it didn't play 60 then 64? Well, music's got, when you boil music down, there's two things associated with music. There is the pitch or the note being played, and there is a time between the notes being played. So you have to have timing and pitch. Well, in Sonic Pi, timing is taken care of by the sleep command. So this will run the command play 60, sleep 1, and play 64. So there you go. And with that, you have the ability to play all of Western music. I say that, if you're patient enough, I'll show you what I mean. I mean, here is this is by Robin Newman, who coded this. Robin's from Great Britain and an excellent programmer and enthusiast of Sonic Pi. So if you play here, let's listen to some Bach. I'll stop that, but you can hear that. I mean, the point there is there's a little bit different command. And there's a whole bunch of commands associated with Sonic Pi. The syntax down here, down here is a help screen, and if I can hear, you can click in language, and you can see all the commands here as I'm scrolling through in the bottom left-hand side that are all commands that are basically methods that are written that can be called inside of Sonic Pi to do different things. So going back to the play, well, let's put the use synth in here because we like being able to change things, and I'll go to piano. Remember the play 60? Well, you can also use a colon and then there's constants loaded to say, hey, I know my music notes, so I don't want to say 60, and I don't want to try to think, what is the C, middle C on a piano I want to play? What MIDI note number is that? I can just say play C4, and gets the same thing. And so for musicians, that's nice. So again, I can say, tell it to sleep. Now, again, you can do what was done, what you saw with the code I just showed in playing Bach, and you can write it all out. But again, this is a computer program, so one of the easiest things to do with a computer program you use all the time is looping, right? So this you can guess what this will do. It's not that big a deal. It will play the C4 note, wait a second, play the C4 note, play it, wait a second, so on. Not rocket science, but that easy to do, and you can play more than that. Let's say that you want to play, again, it's programming, so I can go ahead and do this, right? I can say, I can have a structure here, an array. And if I just say this, I think it'll just play it all together. Oh, won't even do it. Tick it through there. Oh, wait, it doesn't like 64. Hey, it's a programming language. So I played C4, E4, and G4. It's a programming language, so I typed 64 there instead of G4, and of course through a syntax error. So you can say tick, and what tick did is played the first one, the second one, then the third one as it looped through it, and that's all it did. That's nice, but what if I wanted to repeat it? Well, there's, again, another method that I could call for that, and just do the same thing. I could, and G4, one right next tab, and tick through it again. It's called a ring because it goes all the way through the array and comes back to the beginning. It goes all the way through array and comes back again. And again, there's a bunch of modifiers for all these methods you call. I could call choose, and choose just does it randomly. So you'll see that a lot in the things I'll be doing when I'm doing some programming here. There's all kinds of structures, and I'll have more small little snippet classes that talk about that, and I'll probably teach a class over in the education building inside of the Music Oasis. But the point is that we can play synthesizers. And one of the other things we saw here, and I'll go ahead, I talked about beats per minute, is since I'm looping, I can change how fast this is going. I'll double the speed, so. So you can change the beats per minute, set it up. So that's what we've got to start with. The other thing I can do, instead of playing notes, I have another thing I can do. And I can take a sample. So I'm going to take a sample. And a sample is nothing more than a short recording of something, that was actually recorded. And here, these are bass drums. And I have the samples that come along loaded with Super Collider, the underlying synthesizer that Sonic Pi is using. There's a number of them, so I can do this, and this should just play the sample. And there you've got 4 on the floor. You can do some EDM. So that's playing that sample of the bass drum. Sleeping, playing it again, sleeping, playing it again, sleeping. And there's a lot of modifiers with sample as well. As you can see, I can change things like how loud it is. I can stretch the beat. I can do a number of things. I can apply filters. I mean, these are synthesizers underneath, and so there's a language here I can change the rate, so I can adjust it from 120 to whatever I want to. I can change the pitch. So those are things, and you'll see me use it a lot when we're doing things in here. Now, one of the things, as we're creating music, one of the things we've got in computers and computer programs, there's an idea of threads. And what are threads? Threads are normally when a computer program runs, it begins at the beginning and goes to the end. When you say a thread, what will happen is this bass drum will loop, and if I create another thread, so it's a loop in a separate thread running on the computer. And I like to think of them as, from a musician's perspective, as it's like separate musicians. So I'm going to live loop. I'm going to have to name the musician. Let's call him. He's my my drummer, and then this is going to be my bass player, and he'll let's have him be a sampler too. He's not going to be very exciting here, but let's have him play just a bass sample, simple one, and he'll play every half second. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce the beats per minute to 60, and we'll go ahead and hear. See, on the fly there, I reduced how loud it is. Let's go ahead. So basically, as you saw, I had a drummer and a bass player going, and I can mix that with what we just saw with the notes as well. So if I set up another live loop, and we'll call him my lead player, right? And he's going to play, okay, he's a loop, so he'll play some notes. So he will play, let's just have them play the ring that we did before. Except we'll use a random, and we'll say he'll play real fast here. And so because of this, the piano's not a very good choice. Let's change him to that saw wave. And I'm going to also, there's other, like we said, there's ways you can modify that synthesizer playing with typical synthesizer commands of that note. So I can change its attack, its decay, and we'll talk about that at some time in the future as I teach classes in this. So I want to go ahead and let's see what he sounds like here. So there you go. So I could build up a beat, and so you kind of see the various components that you can have. You can also add effects. I mean, again, it's a full-fledged looping synthesizer. I mean, a looper that can play samples, or it can play more analog, although it's a digital implementation of analog things like synthesizers. So I can shape that sound, and I use it a lot. Like I said, I use this primarily, Sonic Pi, in coming up with new sounds that I put into my my loopers and my samplers that I use when I'm playing regular EDM music. And because of that, it's got different things you can do. It's got effects. So if I look at an effect, you can do crazy things with effects. And I don't. The best way to show that probably is look at oh, just a given existing stuff, existing songs. You can go ahead. I'll throw this in here. Here's one that has got. So this is going to be used as a synthesizer called Zawa. It is looping. I've got it synced. I don't need to sync it here. So what this will do is we'll play a chord, and we saw this again. I can play a chord, so I'm going to play an F2 major ninth chord, and it's going to choose a note out of that, and it's going to release it. And you saw the simple release of it, and it's going to play it at a certain amplification. It's going to sleep. We saw some of that, but it's going to add a couple of effects to it, and it's going to add a distortion effect, so it'll distort it, and it's going to change how much it distorts it, and it's going to pan it from left to right, and you get something like this. So if you're a bit of a mad scientist like I am, you spend hours doing this kind of stuff. So that was a quick introduction to the software I'll be using while I'm doing what's called AlgoRaving. AlgoRaving meaning it's algorithmic generated rave music, ADM music, and I've created a lot of music in this genre in playing. And I will go ahead now and we will hear a live coded EDM set. Thanks for suffering through this. It's always fun to watch somebody program. You can see where I may not be their best typer, among other things. I really enjoy this, and it's easy to get lost. The time just slips away when I'm playing with this. It appeals to my nerdiness. So thanks again for sticking around, and we'll do some more real music here. How about Bluebell maybe next?